So here's some superficial noise you'll see on the DARPA internet. And this was posted recently is what I should say. At least relatively recently, I think. It's a bad way to put it. What this kid is rehashing is information that's been available to people on the DARPA internet for 30 years at least. I worked in the theaters when the Truman Show came out, and I forget. That would have been 98, approximately. So, okay, maybe not 30 years. It's 25, right? Allegedly, it was 2025. Technically, it's still the year 2025. Rounding things, for the lack of better words. That's 26, and we're coming up on 2026 at 27 years. This is old hat. More importantly, one of the things I told people in the comment section is if you use your brain, you could figure these things out on your own. In other words, if you buff up on Freemasonry, you could watch the film and connect the fucking dots instead of clicking on a superficial video on LifeLog 2.0 and saying, "Oh my God, this guy is so cool. What else could you do with your information?" And or just leaving a fucking emoji in here. People aren't very bright. Case in point. By degrees, they reaffirm phony jurisdictions in place to subjugate the masses. It's very annoying, but it's also kind of funny because people are stupid and that's why everything's going to hell. Incredible, brother! Like I just said, this shit is old hat. And then some. Keep in mind, I didn't reason out just how long ago it was, so maybe I fucked up and said 3 decades. I don't remember now. Here's somebody, do Donnie Darko too. And I encouraged this stupid fucker. I said, despite the fact that you piss me off, I am encouraging you. Told them to use their brain and they could see things for themselves. People aren't very bright. Case in point again. 9/11 flat earth with a dome? Stage world in the movie. And then there's 3 little yellow faces in here for some dumb reason. So I wrote him this. You can take a screenshot. I'm going to keep scrolling. Not that you give a shit. And I also said it absolutely cracks me up that you don't understand how anything works. Thanks for calling attention to yourself. Because these kids need to hear these things. The door is the final step, making it 33. There's 16 steps at the very end of the movie. And if you guys buff up on what was originally going to be crapped out, what this kid just said, it does track. It is lesser magic, if I'm not mistaken, because there's a lot of it in this movie. If you look deeper is my point, because most superficial internet babies confuse entertainment with research. Originally, there was going to be another scene where Truman leaves the soundstage and sees the real world, and that was omitted from the film. In other words, I put in the time. You could too. These kids didn't, and most people won't. You picking up what I'm putting down? Probably not. It's another reason why this guy says gay with a question mark. So I chimed in. I said, correct, you are gay as AIDS. Thanks for chiming in. Sorry, this round you didn't win a prize. I already handed out all of my limp rainbows.
A movie about a Freemason's journey to enlightenment. So what kicks off Truman's journey to enlightenment? The falling canister from the ceiling, labeled Sirius. Sirius is known as the morning star, the fallen angel, Lucifer the lightbringer, who brings knowledge to humanity. Represented by the blazing star, in Freemasonry sat between the 2 pillars of Jachin and Boaz. In this shot, we see the fallen star Sirius between 2 pillars. That grabs Truman's attention, the 2 pillars being Jachin and Boaz. So Truman essentially receives esoteric knowledge from Sirius and begins to question his reality. We see that every outcome of Truman's life is being governed by what some might call an overbearing father, or the Gnostic demiurge, which in this case is given the name of Christoph, or Christ of, or of Christ. When Truman finally breaks free of this controlling deity, he ascends up the Masonic steps towards self-governance. Here we can see 16 steps, as well as the waters below, as above so below, with what we can assume is the reflection of the waters below, that would total 32 steps. steps, or 32 degrees of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Obviously, the 33rd degree being the most notable. However, this is a more symbolic, honorary, invite-only degree. No initiate can get there through just Masonic scholarship. It is the Gnostic perspective that the material world is a trap, an illusion, a prison of sorts, governed and controlled by a lower creator, a more malevolent version of the God archetype, or Grand Architect. And that, to escape this material illusion, one must break free through enlightenment and self-gnosis. Some say the G in Masonry stands for Gnosis or Gnosticism. However, that's one of many interpretations that include Grand Architect, Generative Principle, Jesu or Jesuit General, God, Goat, Geometry, and others. And so Truman undergoes this journey of Gnostic enlightenment and breaks free of his controlling father. Also, somewhat interesting that Richard Rothschild was one of the producers of this film. Shout out to him.